I do believe that we meet with our teachers and our guides and our counsel, if you will. We can call it many things. And we set up our destiny points, a plot point. It's almost like setting up a play structure.
Yeah.
And we look at all of our lessons we have to come back to learn in this upcoming life. And we figure those out with our guides. And we also figure it out with the karma, if you will, or lessons we have to do with our family and our friends. So I believe it's more of like, well, not only individually are we coming back to learn and to grow, but we also learn and grow with our soul group, if you will.
Absolutely. Yes, that is absolutely my belief. And depending on what we also come in to learn, we may come in from a past life and have all kinds of, like in our case, James, we probably have been mediums and psychic for many, many, many lifetimes. And then brought it into this lifetime.
I think we perfect it in each lifetime, perfect our skill set, if you will. And I know with myself, I had many lifetimes in, service of humankind as far as religious, missionary. I was a monk, nun. I did all that. I remember one very, very clearly where I was a monk, and it was, I was thinking 1600s. And I was in a long hallway. It was nighttime. I saw cobblestones. It was the brown friar kind of costume. And I was translating Bible. I was translating with the feather quilt. And it was an oil lamp. And I was translating. I remember it. And I was looking at myself in the back, observing that. And I think it was really interesting because I got to understand spirituality through the transcriptions. And I, of course, really was born Catholic, right? Raised Catholic. And I think that it came up to that because of my past lives. And then of the service, I've chosen to do this work now because I don't know. I think, like you say, we work up to things, our skill set, we perfect things in the lifetime.
And especially in a previous life, if you had had a lot of religious training, in each life, you would have learned something new. And we always come back, and we don't have to come back to the same place. I mean, we might have a life in India. We might have a life in the United States. We may have a life in France.
100%.
Of course, we could. I mean, if we're just talking about on Earth, a life on Earth.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I have to say it like that. If our soul contract is with Earth, we might just keep coming back and coming back.
Yeah, and there are things also, everyone, that when you have your pre-life, when you set things up, you will choose the race that you got into, that what you look like, the race that you're in. And that, again, has to do, I think, with karma, of course, but also it's how you can potentially complete the lessons you have to complete, being an Asian person, being a Black person, being a white person. You come back with that ancestry. There are many factors involved. Ancestry, the lessons you have to learn. I've heard that someone comes back a very good-looking person because that way they can get out there more, meet people, or have a certain, if you will, certain experiences in life that they wouldn't have if they didn't look that way. So
it's not just, but it's funny that you would say that, because just because somebody even looked more beautiful or whatever, they may actually have some of the harder lessons.
Correct.
Because there could be all kinds of sexual abuse that goes on. There could be all kinds of issues behind the scenes with that.
And Kellee, I think we should make it very clear to people too that we are here to learn and we are here to grow. And there are lessons that we're spiritual lessons, if you will, because we all have to remember that we are a soul first, a soul having a human experience. And that's really, we're souls, and we'll leave this human body when it's time, when our graduation comes. And there was a great book called Life Before Life, and talked all about preparing for this coming life. But when you have a skill set in your lifetime this time, it's as we said, you perfected that in other lifetimes. Even relationships with people, we talk about having karma with them. But I know, everybody knows, there are certain people you have a connection with immediately when you meet them. I know, Kellee, with you and I, we met immediately. We had a connection immediately. And there are some people who just know it. I remember my first marriage. I met my wife at the time in college. And I remember I was working on a musical play in the college. And this woman walked out on the stage. And I said, I'm going to marry her I was 18. I'm going to marry her one day. I just knew it. And it was such a connection. And it
was a recognition.
It was a soul recognition.
Yeah.
A soul recognition is exactly what it was. And I think we have those throughout our lives. When we did end up getting married, there's an agreement, if you will, between souls that you'll meet at a certain time in life, at a certain age, to fulfill your soul's destiny. Is that
Yes,
would you say
yes,
that?
absolutely. For me, James, it's really interesting, and maybe you've had this experience, and I wonder if other people have had this experience. For me, if certain voices, I hear a voice, and
Yes.
I immediately say, "I know this person."
Yes.
I don't know if it's because I'm clairvoyant or if something or clairaudient. I don't know what it is, James, but it's happened to me on many occasions where I'll hear the voice, never seen them in my life, and I know this person from a
Interesting.
previous life.
Interesting. I know it when I look in their eyes and it just so happen to.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yes.
I know if they're a friend or foe. I
Yeah.
know if they were, and that's, I remember everybody, friend or foe, you've learned from both, right? And I would get away from the judgment part of it because it's all learning, whether it's positive or negative, it's all learning. And how you handle certain situations, that's destiny as well. And the more I think one knows oneself, the better they can make the
Right.
right choices for themselves. But I do believe that. And I just, when I look at their eyes, I know it, or I see them, and I feel that energy, I know right away. My friend Katie, I was with for a while. Remember my friend
Yes,
Katie?
I do.
The moment I met her at my front door, we looked
Mhm.
in each other's eyes. A friend brought her to the house, never met her before. And we looked at each other's eyes and we knew each other.
Yeah.
We knew each other. And she said to me, "It's good to see you again." I was like,
Wow.
"What?" And we couldn't explain it to people because we just got along so well and we understood each other pretty well. And
Right.
that was really comfortable. Can I say it that way?
Yeah.
Comfortable. And even doing the work, our spiritual work, I mean, in our own lives, I've met practitioners who I know I've met. Dr. Brian Weiss I've worked with before. I know Brian and I have had many lifetimes together, whether it was monastic lives or mission lives or whatever it was. And many people, friends, and it's interesting because I love the saying that a soul comes into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And I really subscribe
Oh,
to
I
that.
believe that. And James, it's funny. We just had Mother's Day, and I wrote a little piece about Mother's Day because for Mother's Day, a lot of people. In my case, I had a really wonderful mother, but in many cases, the relationship is so complicated. And can it be from past lives that it's complicated?
Yes. And
Yes.
family dynamics. I mean, we take on different
Right.
roles in each lifetime. So it's so much like a play. One lifetime you'll be the grandmother. One lifetime you'll be the mother. One time you'll be the son that has an addiction problem. One
Yes.
there'll be someone who has suicide. There's all these different topics that we have to learn from, and we got to learn both sides of the coin.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How
So
would I be as
James,
a mother? How would I be with a drug addict son or
right.
daughter? How would I be with this? And with a divorce?
Right.
What's that all about? What about coming back with disabilities? Well, to me, with disabilities, it's someone who comes back. I don't know, Kelly, how you feel about this, but I've always said those are the higher souls, the
Oh, yes.
higher evolved souls come back with a disability. And
Yes.
usually it could be karmic from their other lives. It could
Mhm.
be that they've done something to someone else and they have now received that. But it also could be, because I almost said just one thing, one facet. It's many different facets or aspects. It also could be that they've chosen to come back with a disability to teach those
Yes.
around them about compassion, kindness, non-judgment. So my take on that. I did a
Yes.
reading for a young man, a woman, and her brother came through and he said, "I'm able to walk and run around now." And she said, "Wow, that's amazing." He said, "I wasn't able to in lifetime. I was confined to a wheelchair." And she said, "Yes, he was. He had cerebral palsy and I used to wheel him around." And he said, "I'm free of that now." And that was my lesson to bring to you and to everyone I met about non-judgment and compassion.
Right, right. So true. Well, James, tell me, let's talk about some of the signs that you've had a past life. Some of the signs.
Some of the signs, wow. I would find, well, a different way we consider past life. So one of the most interesting one, I think a lot of you all have had it. I was once going to, so many different ways. I was once going from Florida to California with a friend of mine. And I was very young. I think I just started mediumship or wasn't even sure about it yet, developing. And we went through New Orleans. And I said to him, "Go down 3 blocks and make a left, and there's a steakhouse there, and we're going to go eat there." He goes, "How do you know that?" So I just know it. And sure enough, there was. And then we walked around the city. I'd known that city. I knew New Orleans. I've said, "I've been here before."
I
So there
had
are
the same feeling, the same thing
in New Orleans or other
in New
places.
Orleans,
New Orleans.
not New Orleans,
Yeah.
specific. Yeah.
I knew streets, I knew buildings, I knew everything. And I've been here before. Same thing when I've traveled around the world. There are certain places.
Yes.
Italy, I felt as well. I've been there before. London, of course. Rome, I felt every corner. I couldn't tell you where things were, but I felt very familiar with Rome.
Yes.
And also Greece. I was very familiar with Greece, which makes sense.
Oh,
So
yeah.
spend time.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Well,
And also,
one of the I was going to say,
yeah,
one
what
of the
about you?
signs of past lives, if you feel a deja vu. I mean, a deja vu, like all of a sudden you might feel that something that you would have experienced, something that happened,
Exactly.
or you might have an experience that you have lived through this before. There's something there, or maybe you again you get triggered by music. Maybe there's a piece,
Yeah,
something.
as I mentioned that there's if you hear music, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I remember that, and it brings you right
Yes,
back to that. So Kelly, I'd call it a
yeah.
soul memory. Yeah, a
Soul
soul
memory.
memory.
Yes,
And there are things that activate those soul memories. Music, destinations. Also, I want to mention to people too. There are some people that come back with phobias. So, like I had
yes.
one with water, and I was, what is this? And I had a dream, and it was I was a merchant in a merchant ship. And no, I'm sorry. Forgive me. That was another lifetime. One of the lifetimes, I was a galley slave, and I remember there was some kind, and I was chained up, and we're rowing the boat, and I remember that there was like a wave, and we couldn't get away, and I died drowning. And in this lifetime, I didn't start swimming till I was 13 because I was very, very afraid of water.
Yeah.
Very afraid of water. So there was that. And a lot of people that have certain phobias where they can't get on a horse. Well, it could be they find that in a past life they were trampled by a horse. Or again, certain people in your life, like we don't like them because you find in another lifetime they were a foe or an enemy of some kind.
Exactly. I had a client that couldn't drive up a hill. She literally, and in Los Angeles, she could not drive up a hill, James. And it didn't matter what we did. We did all kinds of work with her to see if she could get her to drive up on the 405. I mean, just a slight incline. Finally, we didn't know what to do. So we found a past life regression, somebody that does past life regression. And she was taken, went into the regression. And it turned out that going up a hill in a previous life, she had been ambushed.
Wow.
And it was interesting. It took some time to work that out, but she drives now.
Yeah, and there are certain phobias one would have just like that. Also, I knew someone that couldn't put a scarf around their neck, could have anything around their neck.
Yes.
Because they were hung in a past life.
Yes. Well, also, what about burned at the stake as a witch?
There you go.
That's a big one. I mean, speaking your truth as a medium or as a clairvoyant or a psychic, that takes some courage.
It takes a lot of courage. Just learning a lesson of courage is for sure. And most people, I would think, on listening to this or watch this would be had those lifetime experiences, because it's also a community, kind of a mindset. It's kind of a common experience for those who would be drawn to this podcast. They would want to know more about life after death, past lives, so forth. So there's that sense of that soul memory is the best way I could describe it.
And also with that, it's really part of a spiritual awakening, if you really think about it, because you start thinking, oh, did I live before? And did I live before? And as you know, my backstory is I had a traumatic brain injury in the year 2000. And suddenly I started going into yoga positions. Like I never did yoga in my life, but I started going into these yoga positions, and then from my chakras and from my Kundalini energy, it started to come up and up and up. And the next thing I know, I have these past lives that are coming out of my system, and I'm watching them like a video, watching past lives. And a lot of the past lives that I got to see myself have, which were painful, many of them, had a lot to do with my siblings.
Interesting. And still to this day. So, and there are common themes that we have lifetime through life. And there are definitely themes that run through each lifetime. And maybe because we have to learn the fullness of that theme, but there are all these different types of themes. Family being one very strong one, of course, that soul group, that soul dynamic, the family dynamic. And fear is a big one, sense of self. I mean, there's so many there. But again, I think of the soul, and again, as we do this podcast, things come into my head. And I just had the symbol, the image, like of a rose, let's say, and that the soul is a rose, and that each petal is a lifetime.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And if you open it up and you learn to open up different lifetimes, and the fullness of that complete rose are really a combination, if you will, of various life experiences. And again, not only on this earth, but there are many, many galaxies, millions of galaxies, if you will. And we can experience things we might not understand at this human level, because it's very, very different. I know I wrote a book and it was talked about light beings. It could be light beings as far as, maybe call aliens, whatever you want to call that, gas beings, liquid beings, all these different types of being. of life, the form of different forms of life.
Well,
So
if you do past life regression, you actually can have those memories that will
exactly.
come back from other galaxies.
Yes.
You
And
know,
at the end of our podcast, or the end of this broadcast, I'm going to do a past life regression for everybody.
yes, which is
So,
going to
because
be
I think it's really, really
very exciting. It's
very exciting
important.
to do that.
Well, and another way that people can remember, begin the process of remembering past lives, is pay attention to your dreams.
Yes.
My granddaughter had one that was just phenomenal, and she was 3 years old. She's 4 now, but when she was 3 years old, James, she ran in the middle of the night into my daughter's bed, and she looked at my daughter, at her mother, and she said, "My father and my granddaughter have drowned, and I am with the pastor right now."
Wow.
And Holiday said, "What?" In the middle of the night, "What?" And she repeated it. "My father and my granddaughter drowned, and now I am with the pastor." Now, they don't talk that way, and they don't have a pastor, and they don't, And then Holiday realized it was a past life. So pay attention to dreams, because this stuff does come up,
Yeah, and
especially
very
with
much so.
kids, especially with
Kids
children.
remember. Sure, kids
Yeah,
remember from the age till the age like of 6 years old.
right.
I remember there used to be a TV show called Past Life, Children's Past Lives, and
Yes,
you remember that little boy knew everything about a military plane or putting planes together.
yes.
He was 4 or 5 years old, and I used to fly that plane. Another one was a child said to his mother, they were crossing over a bridge, and he said, "Mommy, last time I was the mommy, and you were the child in the back."
Yes. Wow.
It
That's
does.
a big one. That
It's a
does
big
happen like that.
And you can definitely through dream state, you can through meditative state. As we'll find out later, I'll do one, and I'm going to do it toward. And as Kellee knows, when I do these, it's kind of in the moment, and spontaneous, because I don't know where I'm going to go with the regressions or I guess meditation experiences, but it brings you to a safe place of understanding. And anytime you do this type of work, you want to come from a soft place, not a hard place, not a thinking place, not a mental place, but really from your heart self, your soul self. And that's what we're going to do that in a little bit. And Edgar Cayce used to also, wonderful, the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, used to work a lot with past lives and the Akashic records, which we're going to do tonight. I'm going to do a past life regression with the Akashic records. And really what that is, it's a soul's record of their lifetime experiences in Atlantis or Lemuria or here or other galaxies. And it was interesting the way he worked. There are certain maladies or sicknesses that people have. They couldn't understand why they would have these things. And he would go into a light trance state. And he would go to the Akashic records and look up that soul's record and find out what they had done in another lifetime, what brought them to this current day to bring this to the surface of their being, and what they have to do in order to learn from it, why they chose to have this malady, and really learn to how to take care of themselves, and what the remedy was to help alleviate their sickness.
Well, and I would think that would be the important part of knowing about a past life.
Yeah.
Is what
What
you
are you
just
learning
said.
from it?
What are you learning? What do you need to learn? Do you have
Right.
a phobia? Do you have a fear? Do you have an affinity towards a certain place? I had a client, he was 19 years old, and he was obsessed with Japan. He wasn't Japanese, he'd never been there. He started speaking the language, and he lives there now. But that had to have been a past life
Has
connection.
been. And also, Kellee, you and I both were when wars, and it was a general many wars.
Oh,
And
yes.
there are certain places where people say, "Well, where do you want to visit?" And China, to me, I don't want to go to China. I have no interest in China. I have no interest in India. But you should be in India. What you do. I said, I don't have any feeling about India, and I think it could be that I've lived there many times, and China many times, almost like I've done that. It doesn't hold interest for me. And Africa as well. I've been invited to Africa. I have no desire to go to there. Maybe South Africa to do a nice drive, and my relatives are from there. But I have no desire. Certain places in the
Interesting.
like,
Yeah.
what about you? Are there certain
I
places?
love India. I have such a passion for India, and I've spent many lifetimes in India, and I love India. I can't say enough about it, how much I love it. And I have been to South Africa, love South Africa. I've been to Africa too, and I've been to China, but my favorite would be India. And I love Mexico. I feel such a connection to Mexico. Always have.
Interesting. I know I've been to Australia many times.
Yes.
In other lifetimes. I relate so much to when I go there. I relate to it. I feel like I'm from there, part of there. I remember that. North America here in the States, I know that I've had a lifetime as a slave, I know it very well. And a woman, I was a woman
Well, let's talk about that, because people ask me the question all the time. Can I, if I'm a female now, could I have been a man? Of course.
Sure you can. It's just I don't know. I just think of it as energy.
Yes.
I don't know your thoughts on this, Kellee, but thoughts of a certain female energy. There are certain things in our society that they will experience being a female energy, and it will happen, and chemically as well, and also a male as well. That I think we take on a certain energy to learn certain lessons based upon that sexual.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I mean, again, our soul is here to constantly learn.
Yeah, constantly learn. And it's interesting because it's so interesting because now we're having transgenders and mixing of the pronouns. So what is that about? Well, obviously they're going to learn something about energy.
Just energy, right.
It's energy, learning about energy, interacting with other people with that energy, what they identify with. Now, could that identification, let's say they're born male, but they want to go to female, could that identification be from many past lives as a female and they miss that energy? I don't know.
It's interesting. I think that they're advanced souls, James, actually. I think they're very advanced souls that come in to kind of blow up everything as far as the way we think, make everything different at this point. I was going to ask you, but what do you think about birthmarks?
Oh, yes. I was going to mention that. Yes. I believe that the certain birthmarks, I think those that are very prominent, that I've seen people have scars in their face or a burn on their face or something in the neck. I've seen people have trouble with their stomachs. It could be, and many times it is, not all the time, but many times it is from a past life wound or, when they did something. I know one person who had trouble with their neck, and it was because they had a birthmark here, but it was also because they killed someone, beheaded someone. Ooh. And they constantly came back with headaches, which is interesting. But also the other opposite would be people that have certain scars in certain places because in a past life they were wounded. Maybe a sword went into their chest and they have a birthmark there. It was very much so. That does happen. Very common.
I wondered why. Yeah, I've always wondered why somebody would carry the energy of that, but they do.
Yeah, for a healing, I guess it's got to be a healing of some kind. Or again, it's hard to say, could they be karma because they did it to somebody else? I think many times it would be that they were killed that way or left the body that way. And it might have a very traumatic experience.
Well, I was wondering, let's talk about that. If somebody passes in a traumatic way and they're having a regression, if they go back through a regression and they have a traumatic experience from the passing, how does that work?
Well, as we'll do it today, you're looking at it as an objectively. So you're above the lifetime, or you're not in the lifetime. You're actually observing it, and you're observing yourself going through it like a scene of a play or a movie, and you're watching how you behave, what actually happened, what led to, however I'm going to lead the regression, led to where you are today. What's going on in your life right now, and it'll be from past life experiences. So, and even the people in your life. I do one regression where I talk about the different people that come in and out of your life. And we're not going to do that tonight. I was just told, but we're going to do something else. But it's going to be really about the different things we're learning. The soul is learning. And intensity. It's so interesting because time is such an illusion, and we in this three-dimensional world measure time. And every day I live is like there's no time, and things to me, Kellee, getting sped up faster and faster and faster.
Oh, completely.
You feel that? Now, is that
very much
getting older, or is it actually speeding up?
I think it's speeding up.
I think it's speeding up. I think it's really speeding up, and it's so interesting how things shift and change, but. Again, the only thing that's real through all this, you can die from phobias and fears, but these fears you have in lifetimes, we come back with certain fears from traumas, from experiences of situations in past lives where we were killed or there was emotional trauma. And we sometimes hold on to that coming back with this lifetime. And through past life regression, and I worked with Dr. Brian Weiss with this, that, you can let those traumas go. If you see where it stems from, where it comes from, you're able to let it go. The first step of healing is awareness. So when you're aware of what it is, and then why are you holding on to it? What are you here to learn? That really matters.
It does. And forgiveness is a big piece of this.
Forgiving other people. And you'll find a lot of times in regressions, past lives, there are family members that did certain things that you have to forgive. And in this lifetime, you're forced to forgive them or have to forgive them. You're given the opportunity to forgive.
During this period of time where I started seeing my past lives, I saw where one of my siblings, where I'll say the sibling went south, if you will, where the break was. I saw that several lifetimes ago, and I saw that, and I never forgot it, James. And
Wow.
I had such compassion for seeing that, and I was so happy or glad that I had the experience, because then
Yeah,
I could go right to a healing place with it.
and I think everybody has that opportunity to go within and
Hmm.
to really quiet themselves down and to really look at their lives and look at the dynamics of those in their lives and who they are and understand things at a deeper level. I think it's really, we are so much outside the body with society, with, tech stuff. And, we really got to go in, live from the inside out, not the outside in. It's the inside out. And the
Right.
more things get technical and, AI and all this stuff happens, we even stronger have to go in, because only inside is your truth, not the outside, the inside.
So true.
Yeah.
So
So
true.
I'm going to do a little regression now, I think, for everybody. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be an easy regression in the sense that I'm not going to do music or anything, and I want everybody to experience what they're going to experience. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. It's just kind of soul memory. So I'm just going to use the sound of my voice to help you all. And as you sitting there listening to this or watching this, you can actually close your eyes, would be probably a good thing. I'm going to put my camera off. Okay. And I'm just going to use my voice to bring people in. So just close your eyes and get in a comfortable position. And whether that's in a chair you're sitting in or a bed or just lie down, as long as you can hear my voice, that's really all you need to do. And we're going to start with the intention that all of us are the realization that our souls have a human experience. You are a soul being. No way around it. You're a soul being. And we're going to bring you to a relaxation space. So we do that with the breath. And the breath is really a gift from God. For the breath really brings in that awareness, that divinity, the connection, the relation with that divinity. So wherever you are, just closing your eyes, be aware now there's perhaps a beautiful vessel of golden light above you and below you and all around you. And it goes up as high as you can imagine. It's limitless, this beautiful golden light. And as we breathe in through the nose, we're just going to set the intention of breathing in that beautiful golden light. And that golden light is an energy of connectedness, an energy of healing, an energy of potential of our souls, that we bring a lot of love from the ethers, from the universe into our space. And we just send that out there. And then as we exhale out of our mouths, the intention is to let go and release that which holds you back, that holds you down, that you are able to release fears, imbalances, emotional scars. And that's really going to be what the intention is there. So I will guide you, and just let yourself be. Don't think about it. Just let yourself be in the heart. So closing your eyes and imagine that beautiful golden light all around you, above you, below you, front of you, behind you. We're going to breathe in through the nose and nostrils, that beautiful golden light, all the way through the body, down, out of the feet. And inhale. Good. And exhale out of your mouth. And let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Good. And inhale. Feeling lighter and lighter all the way in. And then exhale. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And just feeling lighter. Every part of the body starts relaxing. The muscles, the organs, the face, shoulders, arms, torso, chest, legs, feet. And inhale. Feel the relaxation. You fill up that golden light. And exhale. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. With each exhalation, it feels lighter and lighter, as if you're floating. And inhale. Good. And exhale. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Good. And again, and inhale. Feeling so light and like floating up in the sky, just lying and relaxed. And exhale. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Good. And just keeping the same rhythm of breath, remaining the same. Good. And as you keep that breath, the ebb and the flow that is natural to your own breathing, imagine now that before you You are brought to a beautiful garden, a spiritual garden of your own creation. Perhaps when you weren't conscious, you did it in between sleeps. And look around that garden, the flowers, the trees, grass, meadows, beautiful luminous golden light. Feel connected there. And soon you become aware of this being standing in front of you. And this being, as you look into their eyes, is standing in front of you. And this is one of your guides. One of your guides comes before you, appears before you. And maybe someone new you've never met before. Or maybe someone you're very familiar with. Might even be a family member. Just feel the love they have as they come here for you in this space and time. And the more you begin to feel their love, connecting with their eyes, you feel this beautiful sense of connection. And all around you feel this loving energy envelop you as their energy surrounds you. And as it surrounds you, you're transported then, as if you're floated, into this big building, this beautiful marble building, a land with beautiful architecture you've never seen before, not of this earth, marble. And you go soon into this room, this beautiful, long, extended room. It's so large you can't even sense the size. It goes up very, very far up. There's no ceiling, just blue sky. And you notice on the sides of the walls are all these books, stacks and stacks of books. In the very center of this room, your guide leads you to a red velvet chair and tells you that this is the space, the temple of remembrance, the temple for your soul to once again recount, remember, and understand lifetimes from before. I want you now to look around the room, become aware of the other people mingling around, talking and discussing on the other couches and chairs. And you're by yourself in the center, and look at all the books, the stacks of books that go from the floor all the way up, as far as you can see, columns and columns of books, different colored bindings, reds and greens, blues and purples, different types of material these books are made from as well. So when you're ready, I want to look at all the different shelves. There's one book in particular that has your name on it, that you're connected with, that attracts you. As you see that book, that binding, I want you just to see that. And as you do, it comes off the shelf and gently flows down to your lap. Your guide assists you in bringing this manifestation of this book. Feel the weight of the book on your lap. Feel the connection you have with this book. For this book is a record of all the lifetimes your soul has experienced before, all different lifetimes. And when you're ready, and I'm going to count from 3 to 0, they're going to go through a lifetime from your past that really is meaningful to this current lifetime. There's something in that past life that is current. Perhaps you're still working on something, a dynamic you're still involved with. So turn the pages. Don't look at the pages. And 3, you're turning all the pages. Feel the lightness. Perhaps each page has a certain feel to it. And 2, you tune into one particular page. You look down. 1, you become aware of the year, perhaps, and the style of the printing. And 0, you're there. You go into the page in that book, and you see a scene of that particular page of that lifetime. Go now to that lifetime. Become aware of where you are. Perhaps you can look down at your feet and be aware of the types of footwear, if any, you're wearing. Perhaps a costume or clothing, if there's any, or bearskins, whatever you're wearing, become aware of that. And also now become aware as you look up of the surrounding, the area you're in. Is it desert, city, jungle? What is there? And what do you have to learn in that particular lifetime? What lesson? What is the main lesson that you bring into this current lifetime? No judgment. Just be aware. Your soul is learning. It's a chapter in your soul's life. Good. And thank that lifetime. Thank your guide. And now 3, turn the pages again. Turn the pages again. And 2, you find a certain chapter, a certain page that you're connecting with. And 1, that lifetime has something to do with this particular one. And 0, you're there, back in that lifetime, that page. And that page brings you into a lifetime. Perhaps you can become aware of the year, the time, the century. Become aware of where what was a certain country. And who were you in that lifetime? And become aware now of the type of footwear you have on. You can wear the clothing, if any, you're wearing. And once again, become aware of the scene. Where are you? Desert, city, jungle, water. Where are you? What is your mission in that lifetime? And also, what lesson or lessons from that lifetime did you bring into this current one to understand, to learn, to comprehend? Become aware of the people too, the lessons you have with them. Good. And thank that lifetime. And then one more, you turn around 3, turn the pages, go to wherever you want. 2, you stop at a certain particular page or chapter, you look down. 1, you become aware of a year, maybe the writing is different, and 0, you're there. Inside that page, that chapter, you become fully aware of that particular time in the past, a lifetime that is very significant to this current lifetime. Become aware of, again, as you look at your feet, are you wearing any footwear at all? Bearskin, sandals, shoes, and perhaps the costume you're wearing, or clothing, if any, bearskins, whatever it might be. And look around to the area, the environment that you're at. And then in that lifetime, who were you in that lifetime? Who were you, and who are the people you dealt with? And what were the lessons that you had to learn in that past life that you brought into this current life that perhaps you're still trying to understand or work out? Something to do very much directly with this current life. Good. And thank that lifetime, that awareness, your soul, and look up to your guide, and they smile from ear to ear. It's beautiful eyes as lights, and they thank you for being with them. They say this place, these Akashic records, are always there for your review anytime you need to experience it, whether in a dream state or a meditative state. It's waiting for you anytime. The Library of Remembrance, this beautiful hall. Good. And slowly become aware again of your physical body now, in this time and place. Your feet on the floor, perhaps your legs, your backs, your shoulders, your chest, your torso, your arms, fingers, neck, and head. And slowly, very slowly, open up your eyes and be one. There you go, Kellee.
Thank you. I got to come back.
It'll take a little bit to come back, everybody. That's fine.
It does. It does. Oh my gosh.
It's hard to do it in
time, but pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. Did you have some experiences?
I did have an experience, and it
was like the number one
otherworldly.
What was there one main lesson that you came back with?
Yeah, it was about teaching. It was watching you teach. Yeah, it was all about teaching and teaching from a different level and teaching. It was all about that. Yeah, it was kind of fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was more intergalactic, actually. I never had that experience.
I've had that before, different galaxies, different places and spaces. Well, and I hope everybody enjoyed that, because you can do that, and you can write things down as well, right? I'd say keep notes, because you might not remember them in half an hour from now even. So write those things down.
And the other thing is, if it brought up a lot of emotions for you, release the emotions, cry, or feel the emotions of it.
Yeah, exactly right. Feel it and become aware that you can always, the traumas are there, the emotions to heal. We do this for healing. So, well, thank you, everybody. And
thank you, James. That was amazing.
You're very welcome.